The Last of Us Part 2 is an incredibly somber experience. Don't get me wrong, there are moments of absolute beauty, but primarily this is a roughly 25-hour misery simulator, exploring revenge, grief, but most of all, forgiveness. I love it. It's a touching, layered story that when it comes to adapting, in the hands of Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, I think will lead to better television than Part 1. Here's why.
I was supposed to die in that hospital. My life would have fucking mattered. But you took that from me.
If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
Yeah. I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
I'd like that.
When a game is so universally loved, delving back into that world and exploring past an ending which is so powerful because of its ambiguity is never going to be an easy ride, especially when taking this many risks with it. As much as I didn't want a lot of what happens to happen, I'm so glad that they took these risks. If Naughty Dog just gave us everything we went into the game wanting, then why bother? Why give us a product that hands you everything you want on a platter when we could be experiencing a new, genuine artistic endeavour? It's this creative line of thinking that got the original to be the game that it is. Even if it stumbles, I will always take artistic expression over a focus group tested, formula-driven experience. My guess is that the Venn diagram of people who like The Last of Us Part 2 and The Last Jedi is more than likely a circle. We already have the original experience to spend time with Joel and Ellie travelling across America. And while I would never refuse any more time dedicated to that, it's already been done. Just compare the box arts. This isn't a hopeful journey in a dangerous world. This is a vengeful tale born in blood and hate. So what are we doing with this new experience? As it turns out, quite a lot. Just as you're seeing and reading everywhere, HBO did the impossible. They broke the supposed video game curse. Who'd have thought that giving passionate, talented artists the freedom to craft a story they wanted to tell with every fibre of their being, did it turn out pretty great? To quickly round up my thoughts on it, other than a few issues with pacing, I thought it was an incredible adaptation. Taking creative liberties when they needed to, yet also having the understanding of it's already been done in this incredible way, so when we can't improve it, let's just keep it like that. Now that the first part of this story has been told in the new medium, it is so exciting to think of the possible directions where it can go when adapting the sequel. In Part 2's 25 hours, there's already so much story there that they've said it will take multiple seasons to tell, especially with it being told in a non-linear fashion and with it having two protagonists. What is the best way to tell it on television? So, to discuss it properly, let's look at how the game constructs its narrative. The introductory segment has you playing between Ellie and a new character, Abby, raising questions about new and familiar characters, as well as starting to answer loose ends from before. Then, it sets the stage for the rest of the game. From the start of this scene, there's something about the way the camera hangs back that just gives me a knot in my stomach, even before the events unfold. At this point, it's too late. As a player, just like Ellie, you're only a spectator.
Joel, get up. Joel, fucking get up.
So, in a calm and collected manner, Abby has a conversation with Joel and decides to let him go.
Joel, please get up.
This moment is incredibly visceral and intense. Intentionally so. It aligns both you, the player, and Ellie on this quest for revenge, hell-bent to seek justice. Personally, whilst incredibly moving, I found that I was hurting for Ellie. As a player more on the Master Chief side of things, I didn't get a chance to play it when it first came out. Also, because I was only 13. I only just finished the original game on my housemate's PS3, then borrowed Michelle's PS4 to play Part 2 around the release. So for me, the superb gut punch of this brilliant ending is more of an interlude. It's the intermission, saying get your snacks ready and switch over to the other HDMI port. The two stories are so intertwined. It literally does just feel like you're flipping a record over to get the second half of a complete experience. because in my 7-year late playthrough, I managed to remain relatively spoiler-free, because for as chronically online as I am, I enjoy living under my rock. It's peaceful here. Being a huge fan of Telltale's The Walking Dead games, I just looked at the box art and presumed they told a near identical story, especially in regard to the ending. So to me, even before I played the game, Joel was already on borrowed time, making it more of a surprise when he did reach the closing credits. This could very well be your third gaming video essay of the day to bring up the phrase ludonarrative dissonance, so I'll make sure to stay clear. But there is a large disconnect in the story and how it's told. These games tell you exactly how to play it, so it punishes you when you try to go off the beaten path. What makes this death any more important than this one? As I played on a high difficulty, I got used to seeing a lot of these death animations, so hopping over to here, it wasn't as big of a shock. It's why fake out deaths in stories at the absolute worst. You've used up all that emotion on something that doesn't matter. While it's not a one-to-one comparison, my boy Joel had already been through it. So of course it was hard seeing him go out, especially in such a brutal way. But Ellie was always the one that I cared about most. I just spent 12 hours protecting her and putting Joel directly in harm's way to do it. So when this happened, yeah, I was screaming about how they massacred my boy, but I was more focused on wanting to make sure Ellie was okay. It's such effective and emotive storytelling. What a way to start your game, hitting you out of the gate with that. Abby gets her revenge and you set off as Ellie to get yours. This section of the game is split into 3, as you slowly get closer and closer to finding Abby, picking off her friends and dogs as you go. Between each day, you have a flashback, filling in the gaps between the last games and this one, answering questions and having the extent of losing Joel hurt that much more, which for most seems to be what they wanted the whole game to be. And for me, that's why it's so bittersweet, only getting glimpses, because so did Ellie. To her, Joel stole the only chance for her life to have meant something. Then he lied about it. So exploring this rich ground of course bears such interesting fruit, because it's this lost time that Ellie feels guilty for. She could have spent 4 years with Joel, but couldn't, and now the future has been ripped away from her. Finally, you reach that point. Abby finds you.
You killed my friends. We let you both live, and you wasted it!
You're so ready for this fight. Let's get our revenge.
Dad? Dad? Dad! Come on. Dad?
Now you find yourself playing as the person you've been hunting down for the last 9 hours. It's a flashback to put you in the headspace of her, the days she lost her dad at Joel's hand, making her go on her vengeful quest so you can see and hopefully feel sympathy and the reasoning for why she did what she did. Then, the flashback finishes. Cool. The game has made its statement. Violence leads to violence. Now let me get back to my shooty. I'm so ready for this fight. Back to the theatre we go. Seattle, day 4? Oh. Now the game takes its biggest risk and commits to it. For the same 3 days we played as Ellie, we now see what Abby was up to in that time. The beginning of this section feels excruciating. You've been building up this one goal for so long, and now it's back to setting up a world and community, getting ready to tell another story. But I'm so ready and invested in the perspective I've been up until this point. Just let me get back there. And it continues and continues, taking the same structure with a day in Seattle followed by a flashback. Along the way, building up a cast of characters I actually became quite invested in, with a thick layer of guilty dramatic irony, knowing exactly how it would turn out for so many of them. The main focus of this section, exploring the conflict that Abby's militia group is a part of, between a local cult, which they call the Scabs. Here, Abby befriends a brother and sister from said cult, and seeing this story explored is some of my favourite parts of the game. Just spending time with especially Lev is such a treat, and while there are incredibly dark aspects to this story, this is a light that shines through and gives the space you need from Ellie's vengeful quest. Yet there's a deep-set melancholy seeing how Abby's rage has consumed her life. Things get explosive, and Abby returns to the aquarium to find the last of her dead friends. They head to the theatre. It's time to end this. Seeing the same events unfold from different characters' perspectives is always something I'll never get enough of. Not only in my own creative work, but just whenever it's done, chef's kiss. It then leads to the most conflicted I have ever felt whilst playing a video game, in making you push forward through the narrative. At this point, and even now, I'm still so stuck in the mindset of how on earth could I hurt Ellie. The number of times I just let her kill Abby because I couldn't do it. I've never experienced this before in any medium, and that is so exciting. This is the one scene where I cannot see a way that the TV show can convey the same feeling. It's so embedded in the player having agency and having to execute the right hits to continue the story. The game making you hurt this character you love and having that resistance. Even if you show the whole fight from Abby's perspective, I can't see it translating across the same because you are the one inflicting the hurt. I'm always very aware that I'm playing as characters who make their own decisions, and it's almost like I'm performing in a play and the character themselves is the prompt in the wings reading me my line.
She's pregnant. Good.
Abby!
After the skirmish, Lev saves the day for everyone involved, and Abby walks off with him, leaving Dina and Ellie battered and bruised. Sometime later, we see the two in a farmhouse looking after their child. This is starting to feel like the end. This would be a natural point to stop, on paper. I dread to think of the budget and scope of this game already. You've seen and done so much. Yet, if it was, we'd feel a bit shortchanged, right? Because Ellie still wants nothing more than to hurt Abby the most she can. While we as the player have changed, or at least some players have, opening our hearts to see different perspectives, to Ellie, she went to Seattle to get revenge, murdered a lot of folks, had a shit time, and the one who she went there for walked away. It's a painful loose end she can't tie up. The PTSD is still ever present, no matter how much she tries to repress it. Tommy returns, telling her she has unfinished business and egging her on, whilst Dina says, if you go, then I'm gone. Ellie can't help herself. She needs to finish this. So after fighting her way through a bunch of evil twats, she finally reaches Abby, a shell of her former self. It looks like they can both get away, both leave and be free. But Ellie needs her revenge. She forces Abby to fight, putting a knife to Lev's neck. At this point, the game had already won me over. I put the controller down and couldn't face anymore. There's so much violence, loss of life and suffering in this game that I couldn't bring myself to inflict more of it. I had spent time with Abby, met her friends and seen her change through Yara and Lev. I could never forgive her for what she did to Joel, but I'd gotten to the point where I couldn't condemn her for it either. Some people that I speak to here were absolutely still on the out to get Abby train, and for those, I'm so sorry that this didn't work for you. I can see that if you weren't won over by this part of the story and these characters, that this would feel empty. You're still set out on the quest you have been from the start. But for me, this final fight is painful. Two people clinging on to life after losing so much. Ellie now almost unrecognisable. Just as she's about to get everything she's been fighting this whole time for, she thinks as to why. And she can't. Abby and Lev leave Ellie to reconcile with her actions alone. She makes her way back to an empty farmhouse, where she can no longer play the guitar. One of her last connections to Joel is she remembers the final time they spoke. Both acknowledge that forgiveness isn't easy. It doesn't happen overnight, and gradually, day by day, they'll work on it. This is an actor's dream, to explore material this rich. It's such a perfect merriment here of writing, characters and performers. If I'm writing a script and I know the actor who'll be playing the role, it's so exciting. You start thinking about certain things only they could bring to it, writing to their strengths, and here everything feels so incredibly polished. We're not hinting to the player what to do next or where to go. The dialogue everywhere is so naturalistic, with deep subtext. Giving such amazing actors material of this caliber will always have me glued to the screen. Now imagining Bella and Pedro in the scene? What a treat. After thinking about Joel and saying goodbye, Ellie leaves the guitar behind as she walks off. Wow. So that is The Last of Us Part 2. If I were Craig Mazin or Neil Druckmann, I'd spend a week screaming, unflinching, just pushing through the pain. Then have a cheesy grin at the exciting possibilities ahead. How could you best plot this for a show? To have it in a season that more than likely isn't going to be 25 hours long. With the flashbacks, do you focus on them first? I hope not. Although maybe Joel and Ellie from the show haven't spent as much time together as they should have. Personally, I'd say to keep the first episode pretty beat for beat with the game, ending with the moment Joel kicks the bucket. What a way to start your season. And not to get too tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, but this is why I think Pedro Pascal was cast in the first place. I'm not sure who it is at HBO, how high up the pecking order they are, or even if it's an intern whispering into someone's ear. I think Pedro was cast specifically for this moment, because for whatever reason, someone at that network doesn't like his head being fully intact. Regarding structuring the show, we're in the age of streaming. Episodes don't need to fill certain airtime on a channel, so let's experiment with episodes of a different length, much like the premiere episode of Series 1 being an hour and a half. For each day in Seattle, give us a full hour exploring Ellie's journey. Show us the hardships and have us there with her. Then for the flashbacks, what about half-hour episodes in between? Giving them their own space to breathe. Having said that, it could kill the forward momentum of the story, having to wait that many more weeks until the theatre confrontation with Abby. Maybe hour-and-a-half long episodes would work, with the Seattle stuff and then a flashback. It just depends on where they're going to have the multiple season divide in the story. Imagine if the Mad Lads ended a whole series here. Come back in a year, folks. I've said it before, but it's between the installments of a story where the characters are alive in your head. Another reason why week-to-week episodes are the best thing for television is the time away from Joel during the game that then made the opening retroactively all the more heartbreaking as I was playing it, because you feel his absence. The flashbacks became like warm havens in a sense, not too dissimilar to the safe rooms in a Resident Evil game. Exploring these memories is exactly what you wanted the game to be, showing you more of these too, and it's what makes it all the more impactful. With everything that happened to the characters, it has these moments as bittersweet, making you feel nostalgic for the simpler days. It's expertly crafted. If I'd have experienced firsthand those 7 years of questioning, theorising about Joel and Ellie's time in Jackson, then absolutely this would have been a harder pill to swallow. You just know for the show they'll utilise that to the fullest, making this flashback so impactful. Games that are heralded for having the best narratives always have deceptively simple ones. Take this little girl across post-apocalyptic America because she may be the cure. Spread the mother of your child's ashes, among others. It's always the common theme of a simple story and interesting characters, as while on the journey they of course encounter obstacles and you learn more about who these people are by how they deal with it. Especially in part 2, it's such a simple concept and so effective in execution. The closest a film has come to this, I think, is Mad Max Fury Road, an incredible motion picture that has the exact structure of a game. The first Last of Us has extremely well-defined and memorable characters. I think it's one of the biggest differences between that and its sequel. In the first, outside of the main two and Riley, they all feel like characters in a story, as opposed to real people. I'm by no means saying that they're not well-written, intriguing, layered characters, just the fact that they are characters and feel as such, whereas Dina, Jesse and Owen feel more lived in. You're only getting a glimpse, a snapshot of their life, and a fair few of the criticisms I see for the game are directed at these characters feeling one-dimensional, which I really don't see. I could walk past any of these people in the street. Part 2 is even more hardwired in realism, not just as a groundbreaking technical achievement. These characters instantly make the world feel more grounded to me. Not everyone is going to have a huge death and go out in a blaze of glory. Some, it's just unfortunate, and others were so close to completing Hotline Miami. Throughout all of this, why do I think that when adapted, Part 2 will make for better television? If it were a book, then it would be heralded as one of the great American novels. What it gets you to do in regard to changing your views on a character and bringing the audience on the lust for revenge is unparalleled. But it falls into one of the pitfalls in Naughty Dog's authored design for games. It's already so cinematic that it looks like it could be previs for the show, but it means you lose player agency. How am I affecting the story by inputting these commands? How is it any different to me just pressing play on a film? Just here repeatedly pressing play. Not to say that it's incorrect or a bad bit of game design. I felt so guilty from accidentally squashing one of my little guys in Halo that I've restarted from the last checkpoint because it was my mistake that did it. It wasn't the story telling me that. It's in Ellie starting to pick off Abby's friends where a few cracks begin to show. It's like they are firing the gun, then wiping their fingerprints and handing it to you saying, "How dare you?" Despite being very aware I was playing as Joel in the original, the game doesn't punish you for it. Absolutely, it punishes him for killing the surgeon, but not the player. Whereas in part 2, it'll have a cutscene or make you play a fight out in a certain way, and then wag its finger telling you you're a naughty dog. It's this predestined character work that has me so excited for the show, where this style of narrative plays best. The Last of Us has and always will be about how love doesn't always lead you to do good things. At first, uniting the player on Ellie's bloodlust revenge quest, but I soon had to distance myself from it. It's not a great story because I played it. It's a great story in spite of me playing it. And I adore it. It's one of my favourite games. But up until now, it's kind of been trapped in the wrong medium, and I am so excited to see it break free. It's not my story as a player. These are their own characters who make their own decisions, and we're merely spectators. I would never want to limit what games are and can be. I don't want to say that authored experiences following characters' decisions aren't real games. Of course they are. The variety of the stories told in this medium, and the way they are told, is unparalleled. I really enjoy Naughty Dog's style, and I love this one. It's just this revenge quest in particular I struggle to be a part of with Ellie. Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann are artists working at the top of their game with every resource they could ask for, and I have no doubt that they'll deliver amazing television with this story. It'll be an even more authored experience, with me not getting in the way of their vision as a player. Here, if it was the player's choice on who to kill when outside of the large combat sections, then maybe it would hit more. After the exhausting 25 hours of the game, it's a cycle of violence I can't be a part of. I'm still so excited to see this story reimagined, but this time I want my involvement in it to end at pressing play. Overall, thank you for watching. I really loved diving into The Last of Us 1 and 2 over these videos. They are many people's favourite games for a reason, and I can't wait to see what they do with Series 2 of the show. Next up, I'll be keeping it in the HBO family, exploring why Succession's pilot episode is so well crafted. I'd love to see you there.